The jade bracelet hit the marble floor with a sharp crack that echoed through the mansion's grand foyer. Park Tae-yang didn't flinch. He couldn't. Not when he was supposed to be blind. "Mr. Park, I'm so sorry." The new housekeeper's voice trembled as she rushed past him, her footsteps frantic against the polished floor. Through the dark glasses that had become his constant mask for the past 2 weeks, Tae-yang watched her kneel and carefully gather the broken pieces, her hands shaking. This was the third housekeeper in 4 months. The third woman who thought a blind, widowed billionaire wouldn't notice how she treated his son. But Tae-yang noticed everything. 2 weeks earlier, he'd walked out of Dr. Lee Soo-min's ophthalmology clinic with perfect vision and a plan that bordered on deception. The car accident that killed his wife Ji-soo 6 months ago had left him with severe eye trauma. Everyone expected him to be blind for life. When the experimental surgery succeeded ahead of schedule, Dr. Lee had looked at him with concern. "The bandages can come off today, Tae-yang. You can see again." Tae-yang had stared at his reflection in the clinic mirror, seeing clearly for the first time in months. But instead of relief, he felt something else entirely, an opportunity. "No one can know," he had told Dr. Lee. "Not yet." His friend had frowned. "Why would you want people to think you're still blind?" Tae-yang's jaw tightened as he remembered the nanny cam footage from 3 weeks prior. The housekeeper smiling sweetly to his face, then yanking his 7-year-old son Yoon-woo by the arm when she thought no one was watching. The boy, who hadn't spoken a single word since his mother's death, dragged to his room like a burden. "I need to see who people really are when they think I'm not watching." Now, standing in his foyer with dark glasses hiding the truth, Tae-yang observed the new housekeeper with the intensity of a man who had learned that money couldn't buy genuine compassion. Mrs. Park, his head housekeeper, had interviewed dozens of candidates. This one was different, she'd said. Foreign, Nigerian, desperate for work. Desperate people could be cruel or kind. Tae-yang intended to discover which. "I'll replace it, Mr. Park," the woman said, her accent wrapping around his name in a way he'd never heard before. "I'll work extra hours, no pay, whatever it takes. It's just a bracelet." Tae-yang kept his voice neutral, his gaze fixed somewhere past her left shoulder as a blind man's would be. "My late wife had dozens." The silence that followed made him want to look directly at her, but he maintained his carefully practiced, unfocused stare. "Then, it meant something to you," she said quietly. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Park, and I'm sorry I was careless with her memory." Something in her voice made Tae-yang's chest tighten. Sincerity, perhaps, or a very good performance. Time would tell. "What's your name again?" he asked. "Zara Okoro, sir, but everyone calls me Zara." "Mrs. Park will show you to your quarters, Zara. You start tomorrow." He heard her sharp intake of breath, the surprise evident. You're still hiring me? Even after I broke—" "Everyone deserves a second chance." Tae-yang turned toward the stairs, his hand finding the banister with practiced ease. "My son is waiting for his dinner. I trust you know how to cook?" "Yes, sir, I do." As he climbed the stairs, Tae-yang's peripheral vision caught Zara bowing deeply, even though she thought he couldn't see it. A small gesture, but it told him something. Respect wasn't performance if no one was watching, or so she believed. Before we continue, if you are enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is there. I read every single comment, and your support truly means the world to me. Now back to what happened next. Yoon-woo's room was at the end of the second-floor hallway, past the family portraits that now felt like ghosts on the walls. Tae-yang paused outside the door, listening. Silence. Always silence. His son had stopped speaking the day Ji-soo died, as if his voice had been buried with her. Every child psychologist in Seoul had theories: trauma, grief, selective mutism, but none of their expensive sessions had brought back Yoon-woo's voice. The boy simply existed in a world of silence, his eyes too old for his 7 years. Tae-yang knocked gently before entering. Yunwoo sat by the window, an untouched bowl of rice and soup on his desk. The boy didn't turn around. "The new housekeeper starts tomorrow," Tae-yang said, moving carefully across the room as a blind man would, even though his son's back was turned. Habit had become second nature. "Her name is Zara. She's from Nigeria." No response. Yunwoo continued staring out the window at the Seoul skyline, his small shoulders hunched. Tae-yang's heart cracked a little more. This was why he was doing this, why he needed to know if Zara, or anyone, could reach the son he was slowly losing to grief. "I need you to eat, Yunwoo, please." The boy's hand moved slightly toward the bowl, then stopped. It was the same every night, a gesture toward compliance that never quite completed itself. Tae-yang left the room with that familiar weight of helplessness pressing on his chest. The next morning arrived with the kind of gray Seoul sky that matched Tae-yang's mood. He sat in his study, pretending to read a Braille document that Mrs. Park had placed on his desk, while actually watching the driveway through his dark glasses. At exactly 8 o'clock, a taxi pulled up. Zara Okoro stepped out wearing a simple blue dress and carrying a worn backpack. She paid the driver, counting out bills, carefully before bowing in thanks. Tae-yang noted the way she paused at the mansion's entrance, taking a deep breath as if steeling herself, before pressing the doorbell. Mrs. Park's voice crackled through the intercom in his study. "Sir, Miss Okoro has arrived." "Send her to meet Yunwoo," Tae-yang said. "I want to know how she handles him." "Sir, shouldn't you meet with her first? Establish guidelines?" "Just do it, Mrs. Park." He heard the older woman's disapproving sigh before the intercom clicked off. Mrs. Park had worked for his family for 20 years and still treated him like the boy who used to steal cookies from her kitchen. But she didn't understand. Guidelines and rules meant nothing if the person enforcing them had no heart. Tae-yang moved silently through the hallway, positioning himself near Yunwoo's room, where he could observe without being noticed. The door was slightly ajar. Zara entered the room with Mrs. Park, who immediately launched into a stern lecture about schedules, meal times, and proper behavior. Tae-yang watched his son, who sat on his bed, clutching a stuffed rabbit, his mother's last gift, staring at nothing. "The boy doesn't speak," Mrs. Park said bluntly. "Hasn't said a word in 6 months. Don't expect conversation. Just make sure he eats, bathes, and gets to his tutoring sessions on time." Zara's expression shifted, something soft and sad crossing her face. 6 months? Since his mother? Yes, since the accident. Mrs. Park's tone was clinical, detached. "I'll leave you to introduce yourself. Remember, Mr. Park is blind and relies on routine. Don't rearrange anything without permission." After Mrs. Park left, silence filled the room. Tae-yang watched as Zara stood there, not moving toward Yunwoo, not speaking, just observing. It stretched for nearly a minute. Then she did something unexpected. She sat down on the floor, cross-legged several feet away from Yunwoo's bed, not approaching, not demanding attention, just sitting. "My name is Zara," she said quietly. "I come from very far away, a place called Nigeria in West Africa. It's so far that the sun rises here before it even thinks about waking up there." Yunwoo's grip on the rabbit tightened slightly. Tae-yang noticed. "I have 5 younger brothers and sisters," Zara continued, her voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to fill the room without overwhelming it. "The youngest is 6, almost your age. His name is Chidi, and he's afraid of the dark." She paused, and Tae-yang saw her smile to herself. "Every night Chidi would cry and cry until I came and sat with him, not talking, not forcing him to be brave, just sitting. Because sometimes the scariest thing about the dark is being alone in it." Yunwoo's eyes flickered toward her for just a second. "I'm not going to make you talk to me," Zara said. "Or smile at me." or pretend everything is okay when it's not. But I'm going to sit here for a little while, if that's all right with you, because nobody should have to be alone in the dark." Tae-yang felt something crack open in his chest. He watched as Zara began humming, a low, melodic tune he didn't recognize. It wasn't a lullaby exactly, but something warm and alive that seemed to wrap around the silence in the room and make it less heavy. After 10 minutes, Yunwoo slowly released his death grip on the rabbit. After 15, his shoulders lowered from their permanent hunch. After 20, he lay down on his bed, still clutching the toy, but his eyes were closed. Zara stood quietly and retrieved a blanket from the chair, draping it over him with the gentleness of someone who understood fragile things. Then she left the room, closing the door softly behind her. Tae-yang barely made it back to his study before she passed in the hallway. "Mr. Park?" Her exact voice made him freeze. He turned, keeping his expression neutral, his gaze unfocused. "Yes?" "I just wanted to say, Yunwoo is resting. He seemed tired." "Did he eat?" "No, sir. But I didn't push. I thought, maybe trust comes before appetite." Tae-yang felt the words settle over him like a revelation. Every other caregiver had forced food on Unwoo, had treated his silence as defiance rather than pain. But this woman, this stranger from across the world, understood something fundamental about his son in 20 minutes. "You're very perceptive, Miss Okoro. I just remember what it's like to hurt, Mr. Park. And I remember that nobody ever healed me by forcing me to be okay." She bowed and walked away, leaving Tae-yang standing in the hallway, his carefully constructed test suddenly feeling less like strategy and more like invasion. The first week passed in careful observation. Tae-yang maintained his performance flawlessly, bumping into furniture occasionally, asking for assistance with tasks he could easily do himself, keeping his dark glasses on from dawn until he retired to his private quarters at night. And he watched Zara. She never rushed Yunwoo, never spoke to him in baby talk or treated his silence as a defect. Instead, she narrated her own actions like a gentle stream of consciousness that required no response. "I'm making jollof rice today. It's a Nigerian dish. Every West African country fights over who makes it best, but obviously it's us." She'd laugh at her own joke while Yunwoo sat at the kitchen counter watching her move. "The secret is in the tomatoes. You have to let them cook down until they're sweet and deep red like sunset." Tae-yang would position himself nearby, pretending to listen to audiobooks while actually listening to her. In Nigeria, we say, "It takes a village to raise a child." That means everyone helps everyone. Your neighbor's child is your child, too. She'd chop vegetables with practiced ease. "I bet your mama cooked for you, didn't she? I bet she made your favorite foods and cut your sandwiches into special shapes." Yunwoo's eyes would get glassy, but he never looked away. "It's okay to miss her," Zara would say softly. "It's okay to be sad. Sadness isn't something to fix. It's something to feel until it's ready to let you go." On the 4th day, Tae-yang staged a test. He deliberately left his study door open and knocked over a glass of water, then called out in feigned distress, "Mrs. Park, I've spilled something." Footsteps rushed down the hall. But it wasn't Mrs. Park who appeared. Zara ran in, saw the spill, and immediately grabbed his arm. "Mr. Park, don't move. There's glass on the floor. Let me help you." She guided him to a chair with such careful attention that Tae-yang felt guilt twist in his stomach. Then she cleaned up the mess, narrating every action so he'd know what she was doing. "I'm wiping up the water now. I'm picking up the glass pieces, carefully, don't worry. I'm checking to make sure I got all of them." When she finished, she knelt beside his chair. Tae-yang could feel her presence, close but not invasive. "Mr. Park, I've been thinking. The furniture in here is beautiful, but some of these side tables are in awkward positions. Would you mind if I rearrange them slightly, just so you won't bump into them?" "You don't have to do that." "I know, but I'd like to, if you'll let me." Tae-yang nodded, not trusting his voice. She spent the next hour restructuring his study, explaining every change, asking his permission for each adjustment. It was kindness without pity, assistance without condescension. That night, he stood outside Yunwoo's room again, listening. Once upon a time, Zara's voice drifted through the crack in the door, there was a little prince who lost his voice, not because he couldn't speak, but because the words hurt too much to say. Tae-yang heard the rustle of pages. She was reading from a book, but the story was clearly her own invention. The prince lived in a beautiful castle with his father, the king, and the king loved his son more than all the gold in all the kingdoms. But the king was sad too, because he didn't know how to tell his son that it was okay to hurt, that being broken didn't mean being alone. There was a pause, then the sound of Yunwoo shifting in his bed. One day, a traveler came to the castle. She didn't have magic potions or special powers. She just had a heart that knew what loneliness felt like. And you know what she did? Silence. She sat with the prince in his silence. She didn't try to fix him or change him. She just reminded him that he was loved, even in the quiet, especially in the quiet. Tae-yang's hand pressed against the doorframe as his throat constricted. And slowly, very slowly, the prince remembered that his voice wasn't gone. It was just resting, waiting for the day when words felt safe again. The next morning, Yunwoo came to breakfast. He sat at the table without being called, without being reminded. Zara placed a plate of scrambled eggs and toast in front of him, cut into small triangles. "Good morning, brave one," she said cheerfully. "I made your father's eggs too, but I think I put too much salt in his. Don't tell him." And then, impossibly, miraculously, the corner of Yunwoo's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but the ghost of one. Tae-yang's hand tightened around his coffee cup so hard he thought it might shatter. By the end of the second week, the mansion felt different, lighter somehow. Zara had a way of filling spaces with warmth that had nothing to do with temperature and everything to do with presence. She sang while she worked, songs in languages Tae-yang didn't understand but felt in his chest. She told stories about her family in Lagos, about her father who fixed radios, and her mother who could argue anyone into submission. Mama once argued with a government official for 3 hours about a road that needed fixing, Zara told Yunwoo while they folded laundry together. The boy had started following her everywhere, a silent shadow. She didn't stop until he agreed to send workers. Then she made him tea and cookies because, she said, even stubborn men deserve sweetness. Yunwoo watched her hands move, mimicking her folding technique with intense concentration. "You're good at this," Zara praised. "You have careful hands. Your mama taught you well." The boy froze. Then, slowly, he nodded. It was the first acknowledgement of his mother he'd made in 6 months. Tae-yang had to leave the room before they saw his reaction, but it was that same evening when everything shifted. Tae-yang was in his study, struggling with the deception more each day. Watching Zara care for his son with such genuine devotion while lying to her about his vision felt increasingly wrong. He was considering ending the charade when he heard raised voices from the foyer. "I saw you pocket those bills!" Mrs. Park's voice was sharp with accusation. "Don't you dare lie to me!" Tae-yang's blood went cold. He moved quickly toward the sound, his dark glasses nearly slipping in his haste. In the foyer, Mrs. Park stood with her arms crossed, glaring at Zara, who looked stricken. Yunwoo was on the stairs, his eyes wide with fear. "I didn't take anything, Mrs. Park. I swear. I counted the household cash this morning. 200,000 won is missing. You were the only one near the office." "I haven't been in the office. I wouldn't—" Zara's voice cracked. "Mr. Park, please, I would never steal from you." Tae-yang felt the moment crystallize around him. This was it, the real test. Not of Zara's character, but of his own. "Search her quarters," he heard himself say, the words tasting like ash. Zara's face crumpled. "Mr. Park, if you have nothing to hide, you won't mind." He hated himself as he said it. Hated the tremor in Zara's voice, the way Yun-woo gripped the banister like it was the only solid thing in a tilting world. Mrs. Park marched Zara upstairs, triumphant. Tae-yang stood in the foyer, his heart hammering, wondering if he'd just destroyed the best thing that had happened to his family in months. 20 minutes later, Mrs. Park returned, her expression sour. "Nothing, she's clean." "Of course I am," Zara said quietly, descending the stairs with wounded dignity. "I come from poverty, Mrs. Park. I know what it's like to have nothing. That's exactly why I would never take what isn't mine." "The money is still missing." "Then perhaps you should check your own pockets before accusing others," Zara said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. Mrs. Park's face flushed red. "How dare you—" "That's enough." Tae-yang raised his hand. "Mrs. Park, check your office again, carefully." The older woman huffed but complied. The silence that followed was suffocating. Tae-yang could feel Zara's pain like a physical thing in the room, but he couldn't look at her, couldn't break character, not yet. "Mr. Park," Zara said softly, "I understand if you want me to leave, but please, let me say goodbye to Yun-woo first. You're not going anywhere." "But you don't trust me." "I said you're not leaving." Mrs. Park returned, looking deeply embarrassed. "The money was in my desk drawer. I must have put it there yesterday and forgotten." No apology, no acknowledgement of the damage done. She simply turned and walked away. Zara stood in the middle of the foyer, shaking. Yun-woo ran down the stairs and grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the kitchen with desperate urgency. Tae-yang heard her break down crying once they were out of sight. That night he couldn't sleep. His deception had allowed Mrs. Park's accusation to wound someone who deserved better. Someone who had been nothing but kind to his son, to him, to everyone in this house. At 2 a.m, Tae-yang found himself standing outside the kitchen. Light spilled from under the door. He pushed it open quietly. Zara sat at the counter, her phone pressed to her ear, speaking in rapid Yoruba. She was crying softly, and though Tae-yang couldn't understand the words, he understood the tone. Hurt, exhaustion, homesickness. When she hung up, she buried her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," Tae-yang said. She jumped, spinning around. "Mr. Park, I didn't hear you." She wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm sorry for crying. I'm okay. I'm fine. You're not fine." He moved into the kitchen, his hand finding the counter's edge. "And you have every right not to be. Mrs. Park found her money. It was a misunderstanding. It was an accusation that never should have been made." Tae-yang's jaw clenched. "You've been nothing but exemplary, and you were treated with suspicion because I'm foreign," Zara finished quietly. "Because I'm different. Because people who look like me are easy to blame." The truth of it sat heavy between them. "I want you to know," Tae-yang said carefully, "that I believe you. I believe in your character. My son." His voice caught. "Yun-woo hasn't responded to anyone the way he responds to you. You've given him something I couldn't, something I'd begun to think he'd lost forever." "Hope?" Zara whispered. "Connection." She was quiet for a long moment. "Mr. Park, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever get tired of the darkness?" The question struck him like a physical blow. "What do you mean?" "Being blind, not seeing your son's face, not seeing the world around you. Does it make you angry?" Tae-yang's carefully constructed wall trembled. "Every day." "I thought so." Zara's voice was gentle. "Because I see the way you turn your head toward sounds, the way your hands tighten when Yun-woo is nearby, like you're trying to reach through the darkness to touch him. It's the worst kind of helplessness, Tae-yang admitted, the words spilling out before he could stop them. Knowing he's hurting and not being able to see it in his eyes, not being able to watch him heal. But you can feel it, can't you? Zara moved closer. You can feel when he's in the room, when he's sad, when he's starting to come back to himself. How do you know that? Because love doesn't need eyes, Mr. Park. It needs presence. And you're always present for him, even when you can't see him. Tae-yang's throat closed. Here he was, lying about his blindness, and she was giving him grace he didn't deserve. Can I tell you something? Zara asked. Please. The first time I saw Yoon-woo, I saw myself. When I was 8, my father died, and I stopped speaking for 3 months. Not because I couldn't, but because every word felt like admitting he was really gone. What brought you back? My grandmother. She told me that silence was okay, but silence wasn't the same as forgetting, that I could speak and still honor my grief, that my voice wasn't a betrayal of my love. Tae-yang felt tears pressing behind his dark glasses. What did you tell him? When you read him that story about the prince who lost his voice? Zara smiled sadly. I told him that healing doesn't mean forgetting, that his mother would want him to find his voice again, that love doesn't end just because someone does. Do you think he believed you? I think he's trying to. They stood in the kitchen, 2 people separated by lies and truth, connected by a small boy who needed them both. Thank you, Tae-yang said finally, for seeing him, for seeing what he needs. Thank you for trusting me with him, Mr. Park. He's a remarkable child. He has a remarkable person taking care of him. Zara's breath caught, and Tae-yang realized how close they were standing. He could smell her perfume, something floral and warm, could feel the heat radiating from her skin. I should let you rest, she said softly. It's late. Zara. Yes? Don't leave, not because of Mrs. Park or anyone else. Stay. Yoon-woo needs you. Only Yoon-woo. The question hung in the air like a confession waiting to be made. Tae-yang's heart hammered against his ribs. Good night, Miss Okoro. He left before she could see through his glasses to the truth burning in his eyes. The next week brought a breakthrough that shattered Tae-yang's resolve. He was in his study, reviewing actual Braille documents to maintain appearances, when he heard laughter, real, genuine laughter. He moved to the doorway and saw them in the garden, Zara and Yoon-woo, covered in flour, making what appeared to be Nigerian chin-chin. She was teaching him to roll the dough, and every time he made a misshapen piece, she'd laugh and make an even worse one. See, mine looks like a tiny shoe. Yours is much better. Yoon-woo's whole face was lit up with joy. He pointed at her flour-covered nose, and his shoulders shook with silent giggles. Are you laughing at me, young man? Zara gasped in mock offense. I'll have you know this is the latest fashion in Lagos. She booped his nose with flour, and Yoon-woo's mouth opened. Don't. The word exploded into the garden like a firecracker. Zara froze. Yoon-woo's eyes went wide, his hand flying to his mouth as if he could shove the word back in. Yoon-woo, Zara whispered, tears streaming down her face. You spoke. Oh my God, you spoke. The boy stared at her, terrified and amazed in equal measure. Say it again, she encouraged gently. Whatever you want to say, anything at all. Yoon-woo's eyes found his father standing in the doorway. Tae-yang's entire body had gone rigid. Appa, Yoon-woo said, his voice rusty from disuse. Appa, I talked. Tae-yang couldn't help it. His gaze snapped directly to his son's face, sharp and focused, and completely, utterly wrong for a blind man. Zara's head turned slowly toward him. Their eyes met, and in that instant she knew. Mr. Park, she said slowly, her voice shaking. Your eyes. Tae-yang's hand went to his dark glasses, but it was too late. The truth was written all over his face, in the way he was looking directly at his son, in the tears on his cheeks that he could see reflecting the afternoon sun. You can see? Zara breathed. You've always been able to see. Yunwoo looked between them, confused. Appa, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, buddy, Tae-yang managed. Go inside and wash up, okay? Zara and I need to talk. The boy hesitated, but Zara nodded encouragingly. Go on, brave one. I'll be there soon. Once Yunwoo disappeared into the house, Zara turned to Tae-yang with an expression that cut him to the bone. Betrayal. Hurt. Anger. How long? She asked. Since before you arrived. You've been pretending this whole time? Watching me, testing me. Her voice rose with each question. Was any of it real, or was I just some experiment? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Mr. Park? She stepped closer, flour still dusting her clothes, tears cutting tracks through it on her face. Tell me what it's like to lie to someone who's been caring for your child, who's been helping you around your own house, who's been opening her heart to your family. I needed to know. The words burst out of him. Do you have any idea what it's like to watch person after person smile to your face and then hurt your son the moment they think you're not watching? I had to know if you were real. So you lied to me? Manipulated me? I was protecting my son. By treating me like I was already guilty? Zara's hands shook. I have done nothing but care for Yunwoo. Nothing but try to help him heal. And you've been watching me like I'm some kind of criminal this whole time. That's not fair. Fair? She laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? I left my family. I left my home. I work myself to exhaustion for people who look at me with suspicion every single day. And the one person I thought saw me, the one person I thought understood, you were lying to me. Tae-yang felt like he was drowning. Zara, please. Did you watch me cry last night? When Mrs. Park accused me of stealing? Did you see that? His silence was answer enough. You saw me break down, and you did nothing. You let me believe you were blind and helpless when you could have defended me. When you could have told Mrs. Park she was wrong. I told her to search again. After you told her to search my room. Zara's voice cracked. Do you have any idea what that felt like? To be violated like that? To have my integrity questioned? I'm sorry, Tae-yang said desperately. I'm so sorry. You're right. I should have stopped it immediately. You should have been honest with me from the beginning. I couldn't risk it. Not with Eunwoo's well-being. His well-being? Zara's eyes flashed. I've done nothing but prioritize his well-being. I've held him when he cried. I've sat with him in his silence. I've given him everything I have to give. And you were just watching, judging, deciding if I was worthy. That's not how it was. Then how was it? She stepped so close he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, could see the pain he'd caused written in every line of her face. Tell me, Tae-yang, how was it? His name in her mouth, without the formal address, felt like intimacy and accusation all at once. I was wrong, he admitted. I thought I was being careful, being protective. But I was just being a coward. I was afraid of being hurt again, of Yunwoo being hurt again. So I hurt you instead. I hurt you when you'd done nothing to deserve it. You're right. I didn't deserve it. Zara stepped back, putting distance between them. I need time to think. Please don't leave, Tae-yang said, hating how desperate he sounded. Yunwoo needs you. Yunwoo needs honesty. He needs people who don't lie to him. She wiped her eyes. I need to figure out if I can trust you, if I can trust any of this. She walked past him into the house, and Tae-yang stood in the garden alone, surrounded by flower and the evidence of joy he'd just destroyed. The rest of the day was agony. Zara avoided him completely, focusing all her attention on Yunwoo. The boy was too excited about finding his voice again to notice the tension, chattering in short bursts about everything and nothing. Zara, look, a bird. I see it, sweetheart. It's beautiful. Appa, Zara made chin-chin. It's good. I'm sure it is, Yunwoo. But every time Tae-yang tried to catch Zara's eye, she looked away. The light that had been growing in the house dimmed again, replaced by a cold formality that hurt worse than silence. That night, Tae-yang couldn't sleep. At midnight, he heard footsteps in the hallway and looked out to see Zara heading downstairs with her backpack. Panic seized his chest. He followed her to the kitchen and found her packing her belongings into the bag, a few changes of clothes, some toiletries, a worn Bible. "You're leaving." It wasn't a question. Zara's hands stilled. "I can't stay here, Tae-yang, not like this." "Because I lied to you. Because I don't know what's real anymore." She turned to face him, and the exhaustion in her eyes broke something in him. "Did you mean any of it? The conversations we had? The things you said?" "Every word." "How can I believe you?" Her voice was soft, defeated. "You're good at pretending. You pretended to be blind for weeks. How do I know you're not pretending now?" Tae-yang removed his dark glasses, setting them on the counter between them like a surrender. "I can't make you believe me. I can't undo what I did. But I can tell you the truth now, all of it, and hope that counts for something." Zara crossed her arms, waiting. "My wife Ji-soo died in a car accident. I was driving. We hit black ice, and the car flipped." His voice was steady, clinical, the only way he could get through it. "She died on impact. I woke up in the hospital with severe eye trauma and a son who wouldn't speak." "I'm sorry," Zara whispered. "Everyone told me I'd be blind forever. And for months, I was. I learned to navigate the house, learned Braille, learned to live in darkness. And in that darkness, I hired caregivers for Yunwoo. But I had nanny cams installed because something felt wrong." He pulled out his phone, scrolled to a video, and handed it to her. Zara watched the footage, a middle-aged woman yanking Yunwoo by the arm, speaking harshly in Korean. The boy's face was blank, accepting the treatment as if he deserved it. "There were 3 before you," Tae-yang continued. 3 women who smiled at me and hurt my son. So when the surgery worked, when I could suddenly see again, I thought if I kept pretending, I could finally know the truth about people. I could protect him." "So you used your blindness as a test?" "Yes, and it was wrong. It was cruel and manipulative, and I justified it by telling myself it was for Yunwoo's sake. But really?" He met her eyes. "I was just afraid of trusting the wrong person again, afraid of failing my son again." Zara set the phone down. "What changed?" "You did," Tae-yang's voice roughened. "From the first day, you were different. You didn't see Yunwoo as a job or a burden. You saw him as a child who was hurting. You sat with him in his silence. You gave him space to heal. And every day, I watched you give pieces of yourself to make him whole again. Then why didn't you tell me the truth?" "Because by the time I realized I should, I was in too deep, and I was afraid." He took a step closer. "I was afraid that if you knew I'd been watching, you'd leave, that you'd hate me, that you'd take away the only light Yunwoo has known since his mother died. So you let me believe a lie instead." "Yes, and I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry, Zara. You deserved honesty from the beginning. You deserved trust. Instead, I gave you suspicion and surveillance." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Do you know what hurts the most? Not that you lied, but that you watched me be accused of stealing and said nothing. You let Mrs. Park humiliate me. You let her search my room like I was a criminal." "I know, and there's no excuse for that. None." Tae-yang's hands clenched at his sides. "I told myself I was maintaining the test, but really I was just being a coward. I should have defended you immediately. I should have fired Mrs. Park on the spot. Instead, I let you be hurt because I was too committed to my deception." "Why?" Zara's voice broke. "Why did you choose your lie over my dignity?" "Because I'm broken," Tae-yang said simply. "Because losing Ji-soo broke something in me, and I've been operating from fear instead of faith. Fear that everyone would hurt my son. Fear that I couldn't trust my own judgment. Fear that letting anyone close would mean losing them too. He moved closer until only the kitchen island separated them. But watching you with Yun-woo these past weeks, seeing the way you love him without expecting anything in return, the way you show up every single day with kindness, even when you're exhausted, even when Mrs. Park treats you like you're less than, Zara, you've been showing me what courage actually looks like, what trust looks like, and I've been too blind to see it. That's the problem, Tae-yang. You weren't blind. You saw everything. You just chose to see it in secret. You're right, and I can't change that. But I can promise you this. No more lies, no more tests. If you stay, you'll have complete honesty from me about everything. Zara was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing the zipper of her backpack. When Mrs. Park accused me of stealing, she said finally, I called my mother. That's what you heard in here last night. I told her I wanted to come home, that I was tired of being treated like I didn't matter. Tae-yang's chest tightened. You know what she told me? Zara's smile was sad. She said, Zara, you've always run toward the broken things. Broken radios, broken hearts, broken people. That's your gift. But sometimes the broken things can cut you. She told me to be careful, to protect my heart. Your mother is wise. She is, and she taught me that people make mistakes. That grace is a choice, not a feeling. But Tae-yang? Zara looked at him with raw honesty. I don't know if I can work in a place where I'm not trusted, where I have to wonder if I'm being watched, judged, tested. You won't be, not anymore. How can I know that? Because I'm giving you something I've never given anyone. Tae-yang pulled out his phone again, opened an app and turned the screen toward her. The nanny cam system. Every camera in this house. I'm deleting it, right now, in front of you. He pressed delete, and the confirmation screen appeared. Are you sure you want to permanently delete all footage and deactivate all devices? Wait, Zara said. Those cameras, they keep Yun-woo safe. You said yourself the other caregivers. I don't need cameras to know you'll keep him safe. I've seen who you are, the real you, and I trust you. Completely. He pressed confirm. The screen went dark. There, Tae-yang said. No more watching, no more testing. Just trust. Zara stared at the phone, then at him. You really just deleted your security system. I deleted my fear. There's a difference. That was stupid, she whispered. Probably. But it's also the truth. I trust you, Zara Okoro. Not because I've tested you and you passed, but because of who you are when nobody's watching. That's the person I want caring for my son. That's the person I... He stopped himself. The person you what? Tae-yang took a breath. The person I've come to care about. Deeply. Not just as Yun-woo's caregiver, but as someone who's brought light back into this house, into my life. Zara's breath caught. Tae-yang. I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I'm just asking you to stay. Give me a chance to earn your trust the right way. Let me prove that I can be honest, that I can be worthy of the gift you've given my family. She stood there, emotions warring across her face. Finally, she unzipped her backpack and started unpacking her things, placing them back on the counter one by one. I'm not staying because of what you said, she told him firmly. I'm staying because of Yun-woo, because that little boy just found his voice again and he needs stability. He needs to know that people don't just leave. I understand. But, Zara continued, meeting his eyes, I need you to understand something too. Trust isn't just given back because someone apologizes. It's earned, day by day, choice by choice. And right now, I'm choosing to give you a chance to earn it. But only one chance, Tae-yang. I won't be lied to again. You have my word. Complete honesty. About everything. Then tell me something true right now. Something you haven't told anyone. Tae-yang didn't hesitate. I blame myself for Jisoo's death. Every day. And some part of me has been punishing myself by staying in the dark, even after I could see again. Because if I couldn't see, I couldn't fully live, and I didn't think I deserved to fully live when she couldn't. The words hung in the air, raw and bleeding. Zara's expression softened. That's not truth, Tae-yang. That's guilt lying to you. What's the difference? Truth sets you free. Guilt keeps you trapped. She moved around the island, standing close enough that he could see the compassion in her eyes. Jisoo's death wasn't your fault. Weather and road conditions and terrible timing, that's what killed her, not you. And staying in darkness, literal or metaphorical, doesn't honor her memory. Living does. Loving your son does. Healing does. How are you so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just someone who knows what it's like to carry guilt that doesn't belong to me. She touched his hand briefly, then pulled back. My father died of a heart attack when I was 8. I spent years thinking that if I'd just been quieter, caused less stress, maybe he'd still be alive. But my grandmother told me that love isn't measured in what we prevent, it's measured in what we give. And you're giving Yun-woo everything you have, Tae-yang. That's what matters. I'm trying, but I keep failing. You're human. Humans fail. What matters is that you keep trying. She picked up a dish towel, wiped her eyes. Now, it's late. And tomorrow, Yun-woo is going to wake up wanting to talk our ears off. We should sleep. Zara? Yes? Thank you. For staying. For giving me another chance. Don't thank me yet. You still have to earn it. She left the kitchen, and Tae-yang stood alone in the quiet, feeling something he hadn't felt in months. Not quite hope, but maybe the possibility of it. The next morning brought a different kind of tension. Yun-woo bounced into the kitchen at breakfast, chattering excitedly. Zara, guess what? I dreamed I could fly, and Appa was there, and you were there, and we flew over the ocean. Zara smiled, preparing his favorite breakfast. That sounds like a wonderful dream, brave one. And Appa could see. In my dream, he could see everything. Yun-woo turned to his father. Appa, I wish. You could really see. Then you could see how pretty Zara is. Tae-yang choked on his coffee. Zara's cheeks flushed. Yun-woo, Tae-yang managed. That's a very kind thought. But it's true. Zara is pretty and nice, and she makes the best chin-chin in the whole world. I don't know about the whole world, Zara laughed, setting his plate down. But thank you, sweet boy. Mrs. Park entered the kitchen, her expression sour. Mr. Park, I need to discuss the household accounts with you. Not now, Mrs. Park. But, sir, it's important. I said, not now. Tae-yang's voice was firm. Actually, Mrs. Park, I'd like you to apologize to Miss Okoro for your accusation yesterday. The older woman's face went rigid. I found my mistake. Isn't that apology enough? No, it's not. Tae-yang stood, and even though he'd abandoned his dark glasses that morning, his presence commanded the room. You accused Zara of theft without evidence. You humiliated her. You demanded her room be searched like she was a criminal. That requires an actual apology. Mrs. Park's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Finally, she turned to Zara with barely concealed resentment. I apologize for the misunderstanding. That's not an apology, Tae-yang said coldly. Try again, this time with sincerity. The kitchen went silent. Yun-woo watched with wide eyes. Mrs. Park's face flushed red, but she bowed slightly. Miss Okoro, I apologize for accusing you of theft. It was wrong of me. I should have been more careful before making such a serious allegation. Zara nodded graciously. Apology accepted, Mrs. Park. After the older woman left, Yun-woo looked at his father with new respect. Appa, you were scary. Sometimes we have to be scary to protect people we care about, Tae-yang said, glancing at Zara. She met his eyes, and something passed between them. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but acknowledgement. He was trying. The days that followed were careful ones. Tae-yang kept his promise of complete honesty, sometimes to almost uncomfortable degrees. "I'm going to my study now," he'd tell Zara. "I have a conference call with the board. It will probably be boring and full of people trying to impress me." "The garden looks beautiful today," he'd comment. "I can see every flower from my window. The roses are your favorite, aren't they? I noticed you always pause to smell them." "I'm struggling with something," he'd admit during dinner. "Yoonwoo's therapist wants to increase his sessions, but I'm afraid it might overwhelm him. What do you think?" And slowly, cautiously, Zara began to respond with her own truths. "I miss my family terribly," she'd say while cooking. "My youngest sister sent me a video yesterday of her school play, and I cried for an hour. Sometimes I feel like an outsider in this house," she'd admit. "Like no matter how hard I work, some people will always see me as temporary, as less than." "I'm scared of caring too much," she'd confess one evening while they watched Yoonwoo play in the garden, "because every time I let myself love something, it seems to slip away." These conversations, honest and raw, built something fragile between them, a foundation that might one day hold weight. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Yoonwoo came running into the house with a drawing. "Appa, Zara, look what I made." It was a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands, one tall male figure, one female figure with dark skin and a bright smile, and one small figure in the middle. "That's our family," Yoonwoo announced proudly. Tae-yang's breath caught. Zara's eyes filled with tears. "Yoonwoo," she said gently, "your family is you and your appa. Your family too," the boy insisted. "Family is people who love you, and you love us, right?" Zara looked at Tae-yang, who was staring at the drawing like it held the secrets of the universe. "Yes," she whispered, "I do love you both." "Then you're family." Yoonwoo's logic was simple, unassailable. "Can we hang it on the fridge?" "Of course we can, brave one." As Yoonwoo ran to get tape, Tae-yang moved closer to Zara. "He's right, you know." "About what?" "About you being family. You've become essential to us, Zara. To both of us." "Tae-yang, I know you're still building trust in me. I know I haven't earned the right to ask for more. But I need you to know that what started as a test became something real. Somewhere between your first day and now, you stopped being the housekeeper and you became the person I think about when I wake up, the person I look for in every room, the person I want to tell everything to." Zara's hands trembled. "You can't say things like that." "Why not? I promised honesty." "Because I'm trying to protect my heart." The words burst out of her. "Don't you understand? I've already lost so much. My father, my home, my family. Every time I let myself care about something here, I have to remember that I'm temporary, that my visa could be denied, that I could be sent home, that this beautiful life I'm building could disappear. What if it didn't have to be temporary?" "What are you saying?" Tae-yang took her hands in his and she didn't pull away. "I'm saying that I want you to stay. Not as an employee, not as someone I'm testing or watching or evaluating, but as someone who belongs here, with us, with me. You're talking crazy." "Maybe, but crazy is the only thing that makes sense anymore." He smiled and it transformed his whole face. "I've spent months in darkness, Zara, real and metaphorical, and you brought light back. You brought joy back. You brought my son's voice back. You made me remember what it feels like to hope for something more than just surviving." "I'm scared," she whispered. "So am I. Terrified, actually. But I've learned something from you. Being scared doesn't mean we stop trying. It means we try anyway." Yoonwoo returned with the tape, oblivious to the moment he was interrupting. "Appa! Zara, help me hang it up high!" They moved together to hang the drawing on the refrigerator, their hands brushing as they worked. When it was secure, Yunwoo stepped back with satisfaction. Perfect, now everyone will know we're family. That night, after Eunwoo was asleep, Tae-yang found Zara in the garden. She was sitting on the bench beneath the rose trellis, looking up at the stars. "In Nigeria," she said as he sat beside her, "we have a saying, 'The river that forgets its source will dry up.' I think about that a lot here, about not forgetting where I came from, even as I build something new." "You could have both," Tae-yang said. "Your past and your future. They don't have to be separate things." "How?" "We could visit Nigeria together, you, me, and Yunwoo. You could show us where you grew up, introduce us to your family. We could make sure that Yunwoo grows up understanding that love isn't limited by geography or culture." Zara turned to him, eyes wide. "You'd do that?" "I'd do anything to make you feel like you belong, because you do, Zara. You belong here, with us." "I don't know if I'm ready for this," she admitted. "For you, for whatever this is becoming." "Then we'll go slow as you need. I'm not going anywhere, and neither is my heart. It's yours, whenever you're ready to take it." She leaned her head on his shoulder, and they sat in the garden under the stars, two broken people learning to be whole together. "Tae-yang?" "Yes?" "Thank you for being honest with me. Finally. Thank you for staying, for giving me the chance to be better. You're already better. You just needed to see it." They sat in comfortable silence until Zara finally spoke again. "I'm not ready to say I love you back. Not yet. But I'm ready to stop being afraid of the possibility." Tae-yang smiled in the darkness. "That's enough. That's more than enough." Inside the house, Yunwoo's drawing hung on the refrigerator, a simple crayon representation of a family that had found each other in the most unexpected way. A Korean billionaire who had to lose his sight to truly see, a Nigerian woman who had traveled across the world to find home, and a little boy who had lost his voice and found it again in the safety of their love. The next morning brought a brightness that felt almost tangible. Yunwoo woke up singing, actually singing, a Korean children's song that Zara had taught him, mixed with words from a Nigerian lullaby. The combination was chaotic and off-key and absolutely perfect. Tae-yang stood in the kitchen, making coffee, when Zara entered. She'd put her hair up in a colorful wrap, something she hadn't worn since her first day. "It's beautiful," he said. She touched it self-consciously. "I stopped wearing them because Mrs. Park said they were unprofessional, but I woke up today and thought, this is who I am, professional or not. You're perfect exactly as you are." Zara's smile was shy but genuine. "You're getting better at this honesty thing. I had a good teacher." Yunwoo bounced into the kitchen and stopped short, staring at Zara's wrap. "Wow, Zara, you look like a queen." "Thank you, brave one." "Can I wear one too?" Zara laughed. "Of course. I'll teach you how to tie it after breakfast." They ate together, the three of them, and it felt like family in a way Tae-yang hadn't experienced since Jisoo's death. Different, but no less real, no less precious. After breakfast, as Zara showed Yunwoo how to wrap fabric around his head, Tae-yang's phone rang. It was Dr. Lee. "I heard through the grapevine that you've stopped pretending to be blind," his friend said without preamble. "Want to tell me how that went?" "Badly at first, but maybe it's getting better." "The housekeeper?" "Her name is Zara, and she's not just a housekeeper, Sumin. She's everything." There was a pause, then, "I'm happy for you, my friend. You deserve this. You deserve to see the world clearly again, in every sense." After hanging up, Tae-yang returned to the living room to find Yunwoo wearing a makeshift head wrap, striking poses while Zara took pictures on her phone, both of them laughing hysterically. "Appa, look, I'm King Yunwoo of Seoul." "You certainly are, buddy." Zara caught his eye over Yunwoo's head, and the smile she gave him was full of possibility, of maybe, of someday. And for the first time since the accident, since the darkness, since the lies and the loss and the loneliness, Tae-yang felt something settle in his chest. Hope. Not the fragile, desperate kind that breaks at the first sign of trouble, but the sturdy, enduring kind that's been tested and proven true. The kind of hope that comes from finally seeing clearly, not just with eyes, but with the heart. "Come here," Zara called to him. "You need a wrap too. This is a family photo." And as Tae-yang let her wrap fabric around his head, as Yunwoo collapsed in giggles at how silly they all looked, as they crowded together for a selfie that would be blurry and imperfect and absolutely beautiful, he realized something profound. He had spent weeks pretending to be blind so he could see the truth, but the real truth had been there all along, waiting for him to be brave enough to trust it. Love didn't require tests or surveillance or proof. It just required presence, honesty, and the courage to be seen, truly seen by someone who chose to stay anyway. "Perfect," Zara said, looking at the photo on her phone. "We look absolutely ridiculous and absolutely perfect." "That's because we are," Tae-yang said, pulling both her and Yunwoo into a hug. And in that moment, with fabric on their heads and joy in their hearts and a little boy's laughter echoing through a house that had been too quiet for too long, they were finally, undeniably, completely home.